And then when you say portfolio, for someone who's listening and doesn't know what a portfolio is, can you explain to them what a portfolio is?
Yeah, it's a difficult one to say because one will say it goes to that issue of saying is one house a portfolio?
Okay, yeah.
Or do you need to have number of properties to say I've got portfolio of properties? So the way I look at it, it's more like it's just the number of houses that you are having, and then which are not just primarily for residential, it's other for businesses. So that's the portfolio that I was talking about, to say to have number of properties. So for example, for me, I don't count the house that I have. I never count the house. I always count the bachelors that I have, to say I have this number of bachelors, because bachelors are making money for me more than the house. If I just buy a 2-bedroom house, I'm just going to get 5,000 from that house. But if I buy that house and then I build bachelors, those bachelors are the one that is making money for me. So I feel like if somebody buys a house and say, I bought a house now, a 2-bedroom house, and then they just hold on to it, they might complain to say the house is not making money because you haven't used that stand to its full potential. It's more like you have this stand and then you have this house, and then the money that you are getting from rent might even be lower than the money that you are supposed to pay the bank, plus all those other things like rates and levies. So you can end up saying property business is not a good business because you are just holding on to this one house. Although there is a benefit of capital growth, to say the value of the property is increasing. But for me, I felt like I always want both. I want capital growth, and then I want a rental income at the end of the month. I don't just want to hold on to a house that is not making money. So most of my houses, I make sure that I capitalize and make sure that they make money. I have one house that makes around 40,500, just one house. And then you find already things that I'm paying, the expenses for that house is something like 10,000, which means 30,000. It's helping me to go and build another one in the future.
Mm. What do you think is the mindset that is holding people back, especially employees, from pursuing their goals?
I think it's fear. There's a lot of people who are afraid, and you are afraid of something that you don't know. It's more like you are afraid of something you don't know. And that brings me to more like the Bible, because I remember there's a story in the Bible where there were guys with leprosy. And then those guys, they were like, if we sit here, we are going to die. But if we go forward, there is a chance of us being alive, or there's a chance of us being alive. So it's more like that. People are just sitting and then they are not doing anything, and which says people must start something. For you to have a chance to see that something might work out, it needs you to start. So most people are not starting, and there's a lot of people with good business ideas. I mean, I talk to a lot of people and I hear, oh, these business ideas are good. And then you find out this person has the business idea, but they're not starting. So I feel like we need to start. And then when you start, you must not look at somebody else to say, what are they doing? Because if you look at somebody else, you might end up making yourself not to be productive. Because if you look at somebody who's building 12 bachelors and you say, I want to build 12 bachelors as well, you might be surprised what that person is using. For example, for me, who uses 100,000 to build one bachelor, that person is using 1.2 million. And then for you, 1.2 million is a lot of money. You cannot be able to do it. Then you stop without even starting. So you have to look at yourself to say, where can I start and how can I start? Because it won't be the same as the way I started, because I started with saving. For somebody else, it might be just to start with one bachelor and say, this is one bachelor that I've started with. And then over time, when I'm receiving the income, and I make sure that I'm not eating the income, I'm managing it well, and then I'm saving it so that I can use the same money to grow the portfolio. Within time, you'll be able to build 2. Within time, you'll be able to build 5. So I feel like a lot of people want to start fancy. And then that's the problem why they're not starting.
Okay. And what would you say to someone who says, I want to start, but I don't know where to start? Yes, I earn some salary, but I actually don't know where to start.
Yes. I think the right place is also your platform. They should invest in going to seminars and making sure that you get information, because you can have money, but if you don't have information, you can lose this money. So it's very important that you get information first before you invest. That's why they say don't invest in something that you don't understand. It's important to go to the background checks and make sure that you understand. If you're going to go for shares, make sure that you spend some time in that dummy account learning how it works, so that by the time you do it, you already have the knowledge. So I feel like somebody who wants to start, I will say go and look for knowledge and look for seminars that are being hosted with regards to what you want to do.
And you've written a book about that as well. I like the fact that you're touching on that. What's the book about?
Yes, the book covers a lot of things. The book covers a lot of things because it covers saving, which is just telling people to say we must be disciplined and make sure that we sacrifice, especially if somebody is starting to work. That's when they make a lot of mistakes. People who make mistakes, they make mistakes just on your first job, then you make mistakes that is going to cost you for so many years. So those are the most critical time where you need to save your money and make sure that you sacrifice the most, so that after 5 years, for example, you'll be in an advantage. Even if you are living and going to decide to buy an expensive car, you will have already invested in some of the things which you are going to be the one to pay for what you want. For example, for somebody like me, I talk a lot about interest from the bank. And then at the moment, I think in one account, I'm receiving 1,700 on interest from the bank. So for somebody who's receiving this interest, that's the right time to say, if I want to upgrade my life, let me use this 1,500 to buy an iPhone, because this 1,700 from interest can buy for that phone. So what is happening with a lot of people is that they are using their salary to pay for that iPhone, and then you end up using your salary in a lot of things, and then your salary is becoming weaker and weaker in such a way that you are not able to invest. When somebody comes and say, I'm saving 30,000, for example, you feel like it's impossible. This story is not true. Where else they are doing?
How many people have called you a lie?
A lot. But for the good thing about me is that I have screenshots for everything that I was doing from 2010 to now. I have all the screenshots. So when I saved 520,000, I have a screenshot. When I paid off my house, I have a screenshot. So I have screenshots for everything. It's like God knew that in the future I'm going to be talking to people, and people want to believe, you really did this, then I will need to show them some evidence at times.